I need to add automation. So now what? This is going to be an executive summary of a previous webinar that was recorded with SupplyChainBrain and Locus Robotics. And I'm speaking now to Neil Bentley. He is Senior Director of Product Development with Locus Robotics. Hi, Neil.
Hi, Robert. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for being with me. Neil, talk about some of the different types of robotics automation that are out there today. What do they do and don't do?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So it's a really broad category. Gartner lists kind of 34 different kind of subcategories of warehouse automation. Um, Kind of some big categories. There's autonomous mobile robots doing collaborative person to good picking. There's traditional kind of conveyor, shoe sorters and pick to light systems, as well as kind of fixed automation. In the AMR and AGV, automated guided vehicle space, there are kind of bringing products to people, either in totes or actual shelf systems. So you hear them be called tote to person and shelf to person. And then there's many other types of kind of fixed automation in terms of sortation, truck unloaders, pick to light solutions. All of them, you said, what do they do, right? All of them are there to increase the efficiency of the operation. So try to take what we would normally do predominantly with manual processes, automate all or some portion of the process to try to do it a little bit better. Where we see the greatest gains tend to be in the areas where the greatest labor is required in the system. And what they don't do, and maybe this is somewhat obvious, but what they don't do is they don't just slot in and change. They don't just slot into your existing processes, right? In order to adopt and get the benefits of automation, you have to typically change your processes, your operational workflows, in order to best work with that automation.
Okay, so there is a broad variety of types of automation out there, and you kind of alluded to some of the places where they have the biggest effect. I would imagine that it would be in terms of anything that increases worker productivity, such as reducing travel in the warehouse, other things like that. I mean, would that be your feeling about just where the absolute biggest impact is in automation robotics right now?
Yeah, in warehouse automation, the biggest impact is really the labor to pick orders, right? The last 5 years and even longer back, right? We've seen this pivot from going to stores to ordering online, and that dramatically changed the workflow that was in the warehouse from workflows that were largely focused on wholesale and retail distribution to picking individual orders. Those really increased the labor required inside of warehouses to do that order fulfillment. And so that's where automation has really had a big impact today, to try to allow warehouses to efficiently do e-commerce as well as retail and wholesale orders, but really try to reduce the labor required. I've seen studies that say 50 to 60+% of labor in a warehouse is just around order picking. So that's where many customers have kind of focused their effort today.
Yeah. Also talk about how many millions of miles in a year that workers actually walk through a warehouse without automation. And so that's certainly the robots, the autonomous mobile robots that can take over that job certainly have a big impact.
They do, and you had asked about where does it increase worker productivity, and that's one of the main things, right? So if you think about any process, anything you do from kind of step one to the end, there are steps in there that are considered kind of value adding steps and steps that aren't value adding. So take, like, you're going to make a cake, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to go buy groceries. The travel from your home to the grocery store and back isn't really value add, right? Getting the ingredients, that's important towards the cake, but the travel time isn't, right? And it's the same thing here in a warehouse. So having your associates having to walk the warehouse. We have studies that, some warehouses, they're walking 8 to 10 miles a day just to get to the item that they need to select, to fulfill that order. You can take that time spent walking and put it into what we're really good at, right? We're really good at finding the right item, picking it, capturing the information that we need, and putting it into the carton that this item is going to ship out in. So autonomous mobile robots do a phenomenal job at that, where the associates can kind of walk from 8 to 10 down to 2 to 3 miles, kind of work in a zone, really understand the products in their area, and really focus on what they do well,
Yeah.
which is find and pick items, versus moving items through a warehouse.
So there seem to be two issues with human labor. One is that to a certain extent, we're going to see some human labor replaced by automation, but in a larger sense, and maybe in an even more important sense, we're going to improve the productivity and the jobs of the workers who remain in the facility, because humans aren't going away completely at all, are they?
That's absolutely correct. And we find typically, there's a repurposing, and the associates get to do different jobs, and better jobs
Mm-hmm.
in this
Yeah.
case.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things we frequently hear, Robert, is the quality of life increase. We have stories of young mothers saying, with the robots, they go home with much more energy to their family, to be with their children. It enables folks that couldn't walk to 8 to 10 miles a day to actually do these jobs. So there's quality of life in addition to productivity improvements.
Okay, but with the presence of humans side by side with automation and robots in the warehouse, how do you ensure worker safety?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And when we have these conversations with customers, at a generic level, the first thing is the solution has to be safe in your environment. And there's the one way, which all good suppliers do, is they find the applicable regulations and certifications for their products in the specific region where they're going to be used, and design in and then validate compliance to those requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And that's super important. Um, for some technologies, the barriers to being safe are much higher than others. Collaborative systems are designed and verified to work safely side by side with people. There are other automation solutions which might have higher the ability to go higher in terms of productivity improvements, but typically they're what we call behind the fence automation, and where you have to keep humans separate from the automation,
Yeah.
either through mechanical means, literally locked fences, or through advanced sensors like curtains and things like that. So there's different ways to do it, kind of behind the fence or collaborative, but either way, you have to find the right regulations and requirements for your solution in the region, and confirm compliance to them.
Task specific, facility specific, industry and types of product specific.
City, yeah, and insurance company, even sometimes two facilities, same location, they have different insurance companies. One might have a different requirement.
Oh my goodness.
Really kind of trying to understand down to that level.
Okay. So, all right. So we're talking about this incredibly broad array of automation and robotic solutions. How do you even begin to get a handle on all of this? How do you evaluate these various formats to decide what's best for your facility?
Yeah, and it really starts with what you just said at the end, Robert, is like what's best for your facility, for your processes, for your goals. And what do you see your facility doing over the next 3, 5, 10 years, right? So it's really having a strong understanding of your goals and what your growth and needs are, matching it to the right automation for you, and that includes understanding your volatility. Right, we talked about fixed automation, which typically comes with a very high initial cost. Over time, it can produce probably the highest, throughput advantages, but you have to have a really strong understanding of what you're going to be using that facility for 5, 7, 10 years to make sure you get that return. So you need to be thinking about flexibility. You need to be thinking about the business model that the solution provider offers. Like we see a lot of solution as a service opportunities for customers, as well as these kind of traditional kind of capex purchases. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really understanding what you need over time, how those technologies fit, and then what do you need from a business model to make it make sense for you.
Great. Thanks for those insights. I really appreciate it, Neil. I would appreciate, though, just a minute or two. Tell me a little bit about where Locus Robotics fits into the picture. What types of automation, what types of robotics do you guys specialize in?
Yeah, happy to. So Locus was born from Quiet Logistics. So our founders founded Quiet Logistics, a third-party logistics company whose charter was to improve the 3PL experience by using technology. So they were an early adopter of Kiva Robotics, a shelf-to-person solution. Amazon is probably as well known. Actually acquired Kiva. They saw advantages to using robotics and automation in a warehouse. So when Amazon bought Kiva, they took the Kiva product off the market. At that point, Locus looked quiet actually, but looked to, do we acquire a different robotic solution? Do we go back to manual picking, or do we develop our own? And that was really the roots of where Locus started from. And so in 2015, I think, was when it became its own spin-off company. We focus on autonomous mobile robots, so no behind the fence, right? We're collaborative. We work in existing aisles, including mezzanines and pick towers, side by side with your associates doing put away or picking. And we have a wide range of robot formats. We have 3 kind of platforms that go from lightweight items to 3,000 pounds moving pallets. The best part about our solution is seamless integration into warehouse management software, over 30 different integrations, and the data that we provide our customers in terms of real-time dashboards and long-term reports really help them optimize their operation over time. We are kind of an OpEx model. We're robots as a service. Robots are just the way we deliver the solution, but it's really the data and the analytics, the AI that's in the robots to allow them to manipulate in these very dynamic warehouse spaces is part of that. And we're a partner. It's, we have to earn our right to stay in the warehouse with our customers. So we have a super strong customer success team that's constantly engaging with the customers on how to optimize the solution. And then the final thing I'll say, Robert, is, because it's robots as a service, we're continuously innovating, adding new robot types, new features and functions, and our clients get that at no additional cost, right? The access to those new features and functions just kind of come as part of the business model. Okay, so their concern of the solution not growing with them is reduced.
Yeah. Neil Bentley, thank you so much for summarizing, giving us this executive summary of the hour-long webinar that Locus Robotics and SupplyChainBrain did. We'll link to that full webinar in the notes to this video. And in the meantime, thank you for that and telling us a little bit about Locus Robotics as well. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, Robert.